Now from the Liberal Democrat Spring Conference in York by the former Deputy Prime Minister Nick Clegg. Good morning, Nick Clegg. In his conference speech today, Tim Farron lumps Theresa May with Vladimir Putin, Marine Le Pen and Donald Trump. In what way is Mrs May similar to Marine Le Pen?
Well, Tim, of course, is not saying that Theresa May is identical to Marine Le Pen. I think what Tim is going to spell out to us shortly in his speech is that we need to be aware of what's going on in the world, that the international settlement, if you like, which was arrived at after the Second World War, which bound nations, particularly powerful nations, by the international rule of law, multilateral institutions, supranational organizations, is under attack from characters as diverse as Vladimir Putin, Marine Le Pen and Donald Trump, and that by siding so sort of ostentatiously with Donald Trump and pursuing this very hard Brexit, Theresa May appears to be giving succour to that much more sort of isolationist, chauvinist view of the world and the multilateral approach which Britain has subscribed to for a very long time.
But in what way? I mean, the exact words he plans to use are "Welcome to the New World Order," Donald Trump, Vladimir Putin, Marine Le Pen, Theresa May, aggressive, nationalistic, anti-NATO, anti-EU. In what way is Mrs May fitting in to any of that? In what way is she similar to Vladimir Putin? I mean, I'm not aware she's invaded anywhere recently or interfered with other people's elections.
Yeah. So, well, I think the clue is in the quote you just read out, which is that the world order, certainly since over the last half century or more, by the way, a lesson I'm afraid we had to learn in Europe because of the terrible bloodshed of two world wars in the space of a few decades, was based on the idea that might is not right, that big countries, strong-armed leaders can't just throw their weight around. And what we now have with Erdogan, Putin, the kind of populism across parts of Western Europe, and Donald Trump, who personally thinks that NATO is obsolete, personally thinks that the EU is going to unravel, is a shift to a radically different view of the world. And
Mrs May doesn't think any of that.
To challenge that.
Mrs May is not anti-NATO. She's not anti-EU. She said she wants the EU to succeed. She's not aggressive as far as I'm aware. So I don't understand why you would lump the British Prime Minister in with these other characters.
Well, let me explain. Because by pursuing, and this is her choice, a much harder, uncompromising approach to Brexit than she could have done. Clearly, in doing so, she, in my view, maybe not yours or shared by others, is pursuing a self-harming approach for the United Kingdom, but also very much tugging and pulling at the threads that bind the rest of the European Union together. In so ostentatiously siding with Donald Trump in that visit of hers recently to the White House, somehow declaring, in my view, speciously, that we can make up for the trade that we're going to lose in the European Union through new trade agreements with the United States. She's not rejecting and challenging this shift towards a much more chauvinist approach to world affairs that is happening in many places.
Now, you're at your party's spring conference. I think we could both agree that any Lib Dem comeback is going to take a long time. Would Tory dominance be more quickly and effectively challenged by a realignment of the centre and the centre-left? And are you working towards that?
Sorry, I missed half the question, but I think you're talking about a realignment.
Yes,
my own view
as a quicker way to get over Tory dominance. Would you want that to happen? Are you working towards that?
Look, my own view is that the recovery of the Liberal Democrats will be a little quicker than you suggest. I mean, people often forget, by the way, that even the nadir of our fortunes, the low point of our fortunes in the last election, we still got 1 million more votes than the SNP. It's only because we've got this crazy electoral system that gives them 56 seats and us 8, even though they got 1 million fewer votes.
Yeah, but the SNP only fight in Scotland.
Yeah, sure, no, I'm just making a point.
You fight in the whole country.
Well, I'm saying that the way in which seats are, of course, allocated in Parliament perhaps overlooks the fact that even in the low point of our fortunes, 2.5 million people still voted for us.
Anyway, realignment.
Well, my own view is, of course, there are a lot of people who are feeling increasingly homeless in the sort of liberal wing of the Conservative Party, because they now are in a party which is in effect indistinguishable from a UKIP on some of the biggest issues of the day. And clearly there are a lot of homeless folk on the kind of more rational, reasonable wing of the Labour Party. I would invite them to join the Liberal Democrats. I would also invite all of us across parties to talk about the ideas that bind us, because my own view is that the Westminster Village you lose a huge amount of sleep and invest a lot of energy building new castles in the sky, inventing new names for new parties, when actually what you want is for people on the progressive centre ground of British politics to talk to each other across party divisions about the ideas that unite them, on the dilemmas from artificial intelligence to an ageing population, from Brexit to climate change, to which we need to find more compelling answers.
Do you think, in your own view, can Brexit still be thwarted, or is it now a matter of getting the best terms?
I think we're in a sort of, how can I put it, we're in an interlude, almost a calm between two storms, the storm of the referendum itself and the collision between the government's stated ambitions for Brexit and the reality of actually having to negotiate something workable with 27 other governments and parliaments. My crystal ball is no clearer than yours. The one thing I can guarantee you is that what the government has promised to the British people cannot happen, because they haven't, by the way, said, oh, we will negotiate the terms of Article 15, namely the divorce from the European Union in the next 2 years, and then over a slower period of time we'll work out what our new relationship is with the European Union. Theresa May has said she will settle the divorce arrangements, money, pensions and so on, negotiate a new trade agreement, negotiate new crime fighting arrangements, negotiate new climate change policies and so on with the European Union, and have that all ratified within 2 years. That is not going to happen. So I think there's going to be quite a lot of turbulence in the next couple of years.
But will you try to thwart it? Will you use this turbulence, as you call it, to try and thwart Brexit, to find a way of rolling back the decision?
It's not about repeating the debates of the past or thwarting the will of the people. It is, however, comparing what people have been promised, from the £350 million for the NHS every week, through to this glittering array of new trade agreements that apparently we're going to sign up to around the world, and a complete change in the way in which people come in and out of this country, with the reality that will transpire in the next couple of years.
Okay.
At that point, yes, it is my belief that people should be able to take a second look at whether that's what they really wanted.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. Just a couple of very quick questions there. Would you welcome an early general election?
Oh, I always welcome an early. I think we couldn't do much worse than we did last time, so yes, of course I would welcome it.
Well, that's probably true. You've got a column in the Evening Standard. Have you spoken to the new editor yet as to whether he's going to keep your column or spike it?
No, I haven't. I wait in nervous anticipation.
I bet the phone may be ringing now, but just before you go, do you think, can you be a newspaper editor in the morning and an MP in the afternoon?
Do I think that's feasible? Sorry, I missed you a bit. Look. There's no prohibition. There's no sort of law against MPs being editors. There have been in the past, no doubt will again in the future. He's taking a lot on. He's not only wanting to be an editor, he's also wanting to, as you know, continue to be an MP in the north of England, to be a jet-setting academic in the United States, to earn a lot of money in the city. Look, you'll have to ask him and get him on the programme. I suspect something will give. It seems to me, even by George Osborne's self-confident standards in his own abilities, I suspect he's probably taking on a little bit too much.
Very diplomatic, Mr. Clegg. I'm sure you'll get to keep the column. Thanks for...
You didn't frankly have the balls to put country before party.